Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another Engineering Hour show. It has been a busy month, and today we are going to the US again, and we're gonna talk about something magic, and I hope that you're gonna enjoy the conversation because I'm anticipating that it's gonna be very rich, and you'll be able to learn a lot from it. So sit tight, have your paper or something to write on, and your pen and type. Don't hesitate to coming into the conversation. Let us know, what you think. If you have any question, it's all welcome, to bring the conversation to the next level. And for those who are going to watch, the show, the replay, same, you can, just pop in your question into the comment section, and then we will address them at when we have the time to do it. So just, I am Mireille. You probably know me by now. Mireille, the greatness engineer, as you know me, and I'm tuning in from Perth. And today, my guest is, I'm gonna give you a little bit, insight on the guest, but I'm gonna leave him the opportunity to actually, go in more detail in the presentation. So Dan Cockerell is going to be the guest today, and we're going to talk about the method to the magic, and just a short introduction about Walt Disney VP. So we're going to talk a lot about Walt Disney today. He's an author, and he's also a co-owner of Cockerell Consulting Group. I think that's most of his work, the work that he's doing now. So without further ado, let's start the conversation. Let's bring Dan with us today. Another episode of the Greatness Engineering Hour show, the show that is brought to you by the Birai Telekima Global Leadership Organization.
Real is important is if you just look at the word compassion, when it's behavior, it's something that can be learned, and it is something that we can embody through habits and through our daily actions.
To get this idea that if we interject this wisdom intentionally, I call them needle movers. It's the needle mover that's missing.
Don't deprive the world of your greatness. Please. Don't do that anymore. Dare to excel, dare to be sexy, dare to be you, dare to be the best version of yourself. Impact yourself positively, and from there impact others, and you are not alone.
we are. This is Dan. Dan, welcome to the Greatness Engineering Hour show. It is a pleasure to have you and to be able to have a great conversation with you because it's going to be, I think, an amazing conversation. But before we get to to the point, and just want you to introduce yourself and let us know who is Dan.
Sure. Thank you, Murray, for having me. I'm really honored to be here. And boy, I need that music track from your introduction. I could listen to that all day. That's some great music. I got some good ideas
Fantastic.
there. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, my name's Dan Cockerell, and I grew up in the United States. Was born in Chicago and moved many times. My father was in the hotel business, and he and my mom and I moved many times. I grew up in just outside of Washington D.C., and I attended Boston University in college, and I studied political science, and mainly because I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. And in the U.S., at my high school, you automatically went to college. Everyone went to university, and so I went and had a great 4 years. Actually discovered rugby up in Boston and ended up playing rugby through my college years, and then played for 5 years after college. So I'm sure there's many maybe Australians and maybe some New Zealanders, if they're on, we have something in common. A great
Mhm.
sport, just a fantastic sport, and an even better culture. I discovered.
Very
So in
famous here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I've
Mhm.
been in college ever since I was 12 years old. I worked. I always had jobs. Every summer it was an automatic. My parents said you got to do something. I worked in a toy store. I mowed lawns. In college, I worked as a server in restaurants, and I started to realize I really loved serving people. I loved helping people. And I worked for Disney on the Walt Disney World College program after 2 years of university for a summer, and they have about a total of 6,000 students that rotate through the program every year, internationally and U.S. students, and just to get a taste of what it was like. And it's a great way for them to get temporary help during the busy summer season. So I went back to school, and when I graduated, I still had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I mean, I really, had some good jobs, but didn't know what path to take. But I decided I enjoyed working at Disney. I enjoyed the excitement, the energy level. I enjoyed the discipline. The service
Mhm.
industry, Marriott, Disney, the place I'd worked, were very structured. You have to be very
Mhm.
organized and very structured if you're going to be in the hospitality business and do a good job. And I enjoyed that. So I went down to Florida and went to the hiring office and said, "Hey, I just got out of college. I have my 4 year degree, and I'd love to work here again." And they said, "Well, what did you do?" I said, "Well, I have a political science degree." And I said, "What am I qualified to do?" And they said, "Well, you can park cars. We're going to put you at Epcot, and you're going to be a parking attendant." And I said, "Great. I just want a job." And so they gave me a job, and for 6 months, I parked cars in Florida. And so when my friends used to ask me what I was doing after college, I said, "Well, I'm going to go to Florida, and I'm going to be parking cars, and that's the plan." But I knew there was a bigger plan. So this was 1991, and Euro Disney in France was going to be opening the following year in April. And so I went back to the hiring center. I said, "Well, look, I got a visa to work internationally before I graduated, and I would love to go open Euro Disney." And they said, "Well, if you have a visa, then we can put you on the task force." I said, "Great. What will I do?" Of course, they said, "Well, you're going to park cars in France because that's all you know how to do." And so I went to France, January 1992. I spoke about 6 words of French, and all of a sudden I'm in France, and I'm out, and we're starting to hire employees. Uh, Really, none of the employees that worked on my team spoke English. It was only French. So
Mhm.
I realized how incredible it is and how fast you can learn a language when you have to, when you're immersed in a culture and you're relying on it to get everything done every day. And it's something I'm still pretty proud of, to have learned to speak another language. Now, I can guarantee you, no one's ever asked me what part of France I'm from, but they can understand what I have to say. So I went to France, and we opened the park in April of 1992, and I met a girl who I'd met in Florida. She's from France, and we got married in 93, and we stayed in France for 5 years and worked in, I had all kinds of different jobs: parking, ticketing, guest relations, food and beverage, human resources. Every chance I got, I would go to a new job, learn it, and then go to a new job and start over from zero, learn it and go to a new job. And I just kept moving. And it was really important because like I said, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that my whole life getting diverse experiences had always been helpful. Growing up, my parents, we traveled a lot. They exposed me to lots of different countries. And I just saw how much more confidence I had when I was able to travel. So learned a ton. And then my wife and I, Valerie, we moved back to the U.S. in 1997, and we spent the next 21 years working at Walt Disney World in Florida. And I worked in theme parks, I worked in resort hotels, and by the time I finished my career at Disney, I'd had 19 different jobs.
Wow.
And my last 9 years, I was the vice president of Epcot. So it was kind of fun. The park that I'd started parking cars in, I went back 20 years later to run the park, and had great. And it was a lot of fun because I knew it very well. And I was at Disney Hollywood Studios. And my last 3 years there, I ran the Magic Kingdom. And the Magic Kingdom, if you haven't been, it's 20 million guests a year, 12,000 employees, and just got an incredible opportunity to learn how to run a large business and learn how to delegate and learn volume. And so come 2018, my wife and I had 3 kids. 2 of them were in college or graduating, and one of them was about to graduate. And Valerie looked at me and she said, "So are we going to just sit here in Florida till you're 55 and retire? Or are we going to go do something?" I said, "We're going to sit here till I'm 55. I can't leave now. I've been here too long. It's too late to change." And we talked about it for a year. And after a year, I finally got up the guts and courage to resign. And I left in May of 2018. And Valerie and I, since then, have been running our own consulting company. She worked for Disney for 15 years in retail, and she was a facilitator at the Disney Institute. And so we've been working together now for 4 years for the highs and the lows, the good times and the bad times, and got through COVID. And we are having a ball now. And I'm really we're still learning every day. Learning to be an entrepreneur after working at Disney for 26 years is not an easy task. You take so many things for granted in a big corporation, like money and resources and marketing. And so we kind of feel like we just got out of college again, except we have some money in our pocket. We're a lot wiser, and we're really taking advantage of this new opportunity while no one's counting on us. Our parents are in good health. Our kids, they're living their lives. So we are traveling the earth right now as much as we can, teaching companies and individuals about leadership and customer service and everything we learned over that combined 41 years. So that's what we've been doing.
And it's amazing, isn't it? You've actually created your own opportunity as you go, because one of the things that we get, they teach us at school is to plan all the time before taking any action. And yet this is a bachelor in political science. I don't know what like what it is, and then you basically creating your own path by basically working on everything and really building up yourself. So how was it? Because yes, you were moving around in Disney, but how was it when you had to transition from your 26 years with a big corporation like and powerful corporation like Walt Disney to now starting from scratch your own business? And so what were the key challenges, and how did you put it together? I would say, because it is a challenge.
It is. And Valerie and I, because we travel a lot and we come from 2 different countries, we love culture. We love learning about culture and the difference in culture. And we even see the difference in culture in our marriage. We've been married almost 30 years, but we have differences in how we see things, and we've learned a lot. And I think the big thing that one of the big things, especially in maybe North America, I'm not sure about Australia, but it's culturally how people identify themselves, how they define who they are. And in the United States, typically a big piece of your identity is your position in business, what company you work for, what level you
Mm-hmm.
work at. If you go to Europe, typically it's where you're from, the city you're from, and you're proud of where you're from. If you go to maybe
Nice study.
the Far East, it's your religion that you identify with. So culture, it's interesting how people, when you ask them about themselves, what they talk about first. And so my dad, he did a good job throughout my career reminding me, just, I know you're having a great career, but remember, Disney does not define who you are. Because when you get in
Mm-hmm.
jobs like that with titles of vice president and all that responsibility, it's easy to think that you are much better than you actually are, because you happen to be working for a company that's fantastic with a lot of very talented people. So the big thing I had to face before I left Disney was I going to be okay not getting the recognition I'd gotten before?
Mm-hmm.
Because having people around me and having those, and I did a good job of that. And I told Valerie, she said, "Are you sure your ego can handle it?" Now it's like
Mm-hmm.
you're just there's a bunch of stuff you're gonna have to do yourself that you've never done yourself. And my response was, well, you know what, you got to take a step back and you have to define, okay, why are we making this change? And for me, Disney gave me everything except a couple things. One was freedom,
Mm-hmm.
and one was simplicity. When you work in a big corporation, there's a lot of, everything is very complicated. And I don't think people mind working hard. But what I found is if you work hard and don't make enough forward progress, you can get frustrated. And I
Mm-hmm.
think after 26 years, I just decided it was time. It was time. You could hang in there like a lot of people do. Just say, well, look, I got 5 years to go, 10 years to go. I'm just going to be maybe not have as much fun as I did before, but I'll just hang in there because, I really want to finish here. And to your point, I think people, you need to have some courage to go ahead and step up and take some calculated risks and calculated decisions. When I left Disney, the only thing we were risking was ourselves. Our kids were out of college, so we weren't really
Mm-hmm.
impacting anyone except ourselves. And the biggest thing we were scared about was fear. Like the president, I think it was maybe it was Roosevelt, said, "There's nothing to fear but fear itself." It's fear of the unknown,
Mm-hmm.
and typically people will go towards and favor the status quo rather than risk. And
Mm-hmm.
so the biggest thing was overcoming that and knowing that I had enough talent and I had enough knowledge to go out and do something on my own and not have to rely on the company I worked for. And that was scary. No, and I
Mm-hmm.
had some great jobs, but you just don't know. You don't
Yeah.
know how people are going to react. Do they want to hear about what you have to talk about? So that was probably the biggest step. I think the other biggest, hardest thing about it was creating structure. When I worked in a big company
Mm-hmm.
for so many years, structure was always there. I knew when I had to be at work and what I had to do. There was budget processes in place. The park opened every day at 9:00. I knew when Christmas came, I had to be there, and
Mm-hmm.
so lots of structure. When you become an entrepreneur, the whole world is your oyster, and so you have to choose where you're going to spend your time to get the most value for your company and the most value for yourself. And that continues to be a very difficult thing to figure out, how to spend my time every day, because
Mm-hmm.
you have a white sheet in front of you and you have to fill it in. But you said something, Murray, earlier, that you pick your own path. I'm a big
Mm-hmm.
believer you create your own luck. I think you create your own luck in
Mm-hmm.
life. Because if you're open-minded, you're willing to take risks, you're willing to try new things, good things happen. Now, sometimes bad things happen. You're embarrassed, you fail, you lose some of your confidence. That's part of risk. But I've seen so many more positive things come out of jumping forward and trying things than not. That I think the world is ripe for people to take more risks and try things. And we're only here for a very short time. So
Mm-hmm.
you need to be smart about it. You can't just go do things that are irresponsible. But life is supposed to be lived, not just survived. And I think if
Mm-hmm.
you can create those experiences for yourself, it's so much more rewarding and fulfilling.
That's very powerful. Just like what you said, that life is supposed to be lived, not to be feared. And that's sometimes what school is doing to us. It's just preparing for a small, very limited world. And then when we realized that we don't have any option anymore, we're scared of jumping out, and or opening the door to to widen our opportunities. And that's a very scary step to take. And then you have all the judgment as well, like you mentioned, and also the loss of identity, because in a way, working for Disney for 26 years, everybody was identifying you to Disney. So when you come and say, okay, no, it's not me anymore, they're like, okay, what are you going to become then? You have no identity anymore. Who are you? And that's scary. I mean, I went through it myself. I used to work for a big corporation, Shell, the Anglo-Saxon gas company, and after 12 years decided, no, I don't want to work. Everybody was like, what are you gonna do? What, you leaving a big corporation like that with the salary and everything? So you start to be very uncomfortable. But as you said, you have to follow your heart and really jump and take the risk and manage as you go, because otherwise you will never do it. So
and I don't, I really don't think, I think big companies to work for.
Go ahead. Yes.
No, I think working for big companies is a great area to train. So to your point, everyone has to have their own path. Some people are perfectly fulfilled and are able to fulfill their life goals. So it's just what you are looking for. You define your success. Nobody else does. And so what I've looked in my life is I just look at everyone as a role model, and I try to put myself in their shoes. And over time, you start to figure out what your goals are and what kind of experiences you want to create and what kind of moments you want to be in. And so like I said, I don't think there's a right answer. There's only your answer. But you can't be afraid to go after what you should be doing. And whether it's staying or going or trying something new or staying with what you're good at, there is no right answer. Only you can define what it is, but you should have an open mind.
Fantastic. So we should all have an open mind. Your success is not the same as mine. So you have to define your own success. And that's the tricky part, I think, for a lot of people to understand that they are, the only CEO of their success, so they have to define it for themselves. So we're going to have a break, and we will be back with you to talk about the next step, because we've talked about, all what happened during your Disney time and, the transition, how you transition to your new life as an entrepreneur. So we're going to hear a little bit more of it after the break. So don't go anywhere. We're going to have a short break, and we'll be back with Dan.
Everyone's role at Disney is different. We have thousands of different roles, but everyone in the organization has the same purpose: to make sure every guest has the best vacation they ever had. And that leads everything we do. And we talk about that every single day. And where you want to get that sweet spot where you can really be candid with people and transparent, care about them, and still hold them highly accountable. And a lot of people think you can't do both, and you can. I would challenge you all, do you have 4 guest standards or 4 standards that all your employees can use to make decisions? And this is a really important step, because it teaches people how to make decisions, how to act, and how to do it without being afraid of making a mistake. So this idea of clarity, once you have clarity and once your people have clarity, you come in every day and you know exactly what you're supposed to do that day that's going to create the most value for your customer, for your employees, for your business. And you know what those things are, and you're able to do those things in an efficient way. That's a great day. But we create lots of complexity, and it's easy to create complexity. It's difficult to create simplicity. It's about doing the important things that are going to drive the most value, whether you like it or not. And you got to dive down in there. I'd work shifts. I'd put a costume on. I'd work in custodial. I worked for 2 weeks making beds at the All-Star Resort to learn what the job was about, so I understood what it was like, and then I had a better point of view to help people. As a leader of a team, you are not the one with all the answers, and you got to get your ego out of the way quickly and realize you are the superintendent. That's why I told people, I want to be the superintendent of Magic Kingdom, not the vice president. Vice president sounds like you actually know everything. Superintendent means I'm here to coordinate everyone, and and I don't know everything, but I can get all the experts together and things are going to run. And I'm ultimately responsible for what happens and accountable, but I'm going to coordinate that.
So we are back. We are back with Dan. And if you're just joining us now, we are going to talk about, we're talking about Dan transition now from being Walt Disney to now becoming an entrepreneur and a co-founder of his own consultancy. So, I mean, how was the transition, and what are you doing now, basically, as an entrepreneur?
Yeah. So, when I left Disney, I met lots of people who are entrepreneurs and just said, look, I'm starting. What advice do you have for us? And I got some great advice. And there was a few things that were key. First of all, and as you saw in the video there, keep it simple. Be simple about what problems you solve. You can't make it difficult for people to understand what you do. And so I was thinking about it. What do I want to be known for? And Disney, I learned a lot about creating a culture, creating a great culture. I lived and worked in a company that created culture, because when you have 12,000 employees, you only are so effective as one person. You better create a culture that your 12,000 or however many employees you have are going to understand the rules and how they're supposed to be carrying themselves to bring that magic to life. So I chose the word culture, and that was what my book was based on. How's the culture in your kingdom? And one of the big reasons I wrote the book was, to have a book. It gives you more authority when you have a book, but also just to put my thoughts on paper, because lots of things I'd done during my career at Disney were just second nature. I built up a muscle memory of how to do things, and I had to codify that so I could teach it. So I wrote the book. And then, so the big thing, Valerie and I do now, and we've developed many, many different things, not because of our choice, but because we had to. Because, like I said, when COVID hits and all the conferences and all the keynote speeches are canceled, once again, you have a choice. You can sit on the couch and hope it ends someday, or you can get up and go do something, create opportunities. So when I first left Disney, I did a little bit of consulting. I worked with a hotel company in Croatia. And help them think about their organizational structure, a family-owned hotel company, and ended up doing speeches. I do lots of keynote speeches for organizations, for training. And then Valerie, as I said, she's a facilitator. She did that at Disney Institute, and Disney Institute is the external training arm of the Walt Disney Company. So if you have a company and you want to learn about Disney, you can go to Disney Institute, or you can talk to us. So we started to go talk to companies. And we have a workshop we call the Method to the Magic. And it's about a 6-hour workshop. And we take healthcare companies, concrete companies, accounting firms, theme parks, hotels, bakeries. I mean, you name it, we worked with them, because the concepts that we talk about, I call our industry agnostic. It doesn't matter what business you're running. If you have employees, you have customers, and you're trying to make money, the approach we take to our training applies to you. And we spend 6 hours with groups to talk about, okay, what's the big goal of your company, and what's I call it the most important thing to have sustainable success. People say, well, make a lot of money, or I said that's one of them. I said, but it's not the sustainable one. Well, give great service. I said, yes, but what when you give great service, what happens? They said, well, people come back. I said, bingo, intent to return. After you've been lucky enough to have a customer or client hire you for your product or service, you have to dazzle them. You have to give them no doubt in their mind they're going to come back again and use your service or product again. That's your opportunity. The other opportunity is the other one, intent to recommend. You cannot have a sustainable business if people are not talking about your business in a very positive way. And we see that now online. When you go look for a rental house, or you go on vacation, you look at a hotel, you look at the star ratings. And if thousands of people rate something a 3 out of 5, that eventually that business is going to go out of business, because you can't live on 3 out of 5 stars. It has to be 4, 4.5, 5 out of 5. And so you have to set the bar at that level. Every client, every customer that comes through your door, goes on your website, You are so lucky to have them. And now you have to do everything in your power to take care of them. In order to do that, you have to deliver excellence. You have to deliver what people expect, and then you have to surprise them, and you have to offer them things they don't expect. And if you do that, you'll give them something to talk about and remember you. In order to do that, you have to train your employees. You have to hire the right people. You have to train them. You have to take care of them, respect them, make sure they have the tools to do the job. And in order to do that as a leader, you have to create a great culture, a great environment that people are going to enjoy being in, and they're going to be engaged. And we call that the chain of excellence. Great culture leads to great employee performance. Employee performance leads to great service. Great service leads to intent to return and intent to recommend. So we have the workshop we do. We are actually in France right now visiting my mother-in-law. She just turned 90 a couple weeks ago, and we had a birthday party for her. Our kids hit the jackpot. My dad's almost 80. My mom's in her late 70s. They're in great shape. And my mother-in-law is 90. She lives alone, has a garden, sews, cooks, and drives every day and goes get groceries. So that she's got some great genes. So we're here in France. We're going to be in Madrid in 2 days doing a workshop. And then we're going to be in Brazil for 5 weeks this summer. And then we're going to be in Australia and New Zealand in November, December this year. So one of our goals is to travel and, like I said, teach companies about this approach. Now, we tell companies, we're not going to teach you how to be Disney, because you don't want to be Disney. And so instead of adopting what we're talking about, you need to adapt it. You need to see what makes sense in your business and adapt those ideas. I have a podcast I just finished called Come Rain or Shine, just finished 200 episodes, and we're on our way. Every Thursday that comes out. We have a college course that we offer on leadership and another one on customer service. I have an online community. A couple of Australians are my community, and we meet 4 times a month and talk about leadership and networking and entrepreneurship. And so, like I said, the COVID really made us be resourceful and think about how to do different things, because, like I said, we don't want to be victims. We can't control what happens in the world, but we can certainly control our response to it. And instead of complaining about it, we created a community. We worked on some other projects, and now that COVID is going away, we're back on the road, and we have these other things we do.
And it's powerful, like you just mentioned, COVID. First of all, it was like, a very negative reaction. But at the end of the day, we just realized that it was actually a good setup to actually push entrepreneurs to become more innovative, more creative, and start to collaborate as well, not only locally, but globally, because, we've started to be online a little bit more people, around the world, and really start to, have this, problem solving act, to really create opportunities from this difficult situation, which is something that now, it's going to be going on, because change, there's going to be change. There's going to have change all the time. So this is like the rehearsal for all of us to know.
Is.
Okay, when the next change is after the process, we know how to, reinvent ourselves. That's a key question that I had is, how is the response actually to the service that you bring? Because I've seen, a lot of, especially a lot of, small companies and small, startups, coming up after COVID. So is it something that you see from, from the service that you provide, or is it just, not being reflected right now?
Yeah, I'll tell you, you have to show me what company and who's leading that company, and I'll tell you how successful they're going to be with change. A lot of companies know they should change, but they're afraid because the status quo looks better to them than the risk they might change. They're not sure if they can get there. So, it's we can't do it for people. We can only present the advantages of how to measure your business and how to focus on the culture. It's a big part of this, I'll just say, is discipline, because what we've learned over time is if you want to create really good things in your life, you don't focus directly on the things you want to change. You focus on a bunch of behaviors and the change happens. So for example, every year there's a new diet comes out. This diet is the diet. You can eat as much as you want, and you just have to take this pill, or you only have to do this every day, and then you'll lose weight and you'll be in great shape. Well, you know what? There is no shortcut. If you exercise and you eat right, you're going to be fit and you're going to lose weight and you're going to be in good health. And no matter what they say, there's no other shortcut to that. And so the leading indicator is working out, not eating too much, not overeating, not eating too much sugar, having the right diet, exercising, having the discipline to get up in the morning and get out and take a walk, take a run, take a swim. And that leads to great health. And businesses, great culture leads to great financial results. If you only focus on the financial results, you can look at a financial report all day long, but it's not going to change. You have to go upstream and figure out what the inputs are. What are the customers seeing? How are the employees interacting with them? Do we know what they like and what they don't like? Do we understand what's going on in our business? If we can get in there and make those changes, once again, they'll be happier, they'll come back, they'll recommend, and you'll make more money. So a lot of this is focusing on those behaviors over time. And the problem is a lot of times people don't have the discipline or the patience to stay the road. They want quick results. And the best results you don't get quickly. You get them with over time and with discipline and focusing and on behaviors. Exactly. And some companies understand it. Some understand it and can't do it. They want a different solution. And we tell them there is not another solution. There may be small ways to change how you do it, but you have to get the basics right. And that's what life is to be. And so hopefully the sooner you can learn that in your life, the happier you'll be, and the more you're going to learn that the small things matter. And if you just focus on those, everything else takes care of themselves.
And it is basically a shift of mindset that you need to look at if you want to change things, because if you continue to think the same way and do the same thing, there's nothing is gonna really change. And it comes back to who you associate yourself with, as an entrepreneur or as a business owner. How do you make sure you bring the right people, and the people that are actually Did you get my question?
I'm sorry, Maria. Can you repeat that? It went out for a moment.
Yeah, I was actually building on the behavioral thing. Just wanted to know, how do you make sure you bring the right people, especially when we talk about startups and changing the course of a culture? How do you bring the right people into your organization? And what are the criteria that you should look for to make sure that this is happening?
It's a great question, and I'll tell you, it is the most important thing you'll do as a leader. Is have the right people on your team. Because if you don't have the right people, it doesn't matter how hard you work. It doesn't matter how much you pay them. You're just not going to get there. And so there's three things we believe you should look for when you're interviewing candidates for your organization. Skills, passion, and attitude. Those are three things you need to get into. Now, skills may or may not be important when you're interviewing someone. At Disney, skills was not a big, for most of the people we hired, the cast members or employees we hired, that was not as important, because a lot of jobs that we had, most people had never done before. You probably never worked at Pirates of the Caribbean before. So we can't look for someone who has a prerequisite for that. We're going to train you how to do that. We're going to train you how to work the computer on the front desk. We're going to train you how to park cars. Now, we hired engineers, we hired finance people, and we're not going to train them. They need to come in with certain qualifications. But a lot of the employees we hired, skills wasn't important. Passion was important. Why do you want to work here? How excited are you to be here? But by far, looking for attitude. Attitude trumps everything, because attitude is the open mindset we talked about. It's problem solving. It's being resourceful. It's not being a victim. It's always trying to find a way. It's not blaming others. It's taking responsibility. And so you need to interview for attitude. And there's a great book we always recommend. We're a friend of Carol Quinn, and she has a book called Motivation-Based Interviewing. And she really teaches you how to interview consistently and very effectively. And basically what you do is you ask people, tell me about a time in your life that you had a problem with someone, or you were given a project that you didn't have all the resources to do or the knowledge. How did you handle that situation? And it's not important how it ended up. It's important what they tell you they did. Did they go read about it? Did they talk to other people? Did they get partners on board? Did they try different ways to figure out the problem? And they never gave up, and they kept coming back again and again and again. And if you can find people like that, you should grab them, because they are rare. Because you can train them, you can teach them things. They're going to be self-motivated. They're not going to be motivated by money. They're not going to be motivated by praise. They need those things, but their main motivation is internal. And if those are the kind of people I want working on my team. So Carol Quinn's book, once again, motivation-based interviewing, you can really get a lot from them.
Hello, sorry, I got kicked out of my own.
No worries. I think we all have those problems these days. But yeah, skills,
Yeah.
passion, attitude. And attitude is the one you should pay a lot of attention to, because people with a great attitude, they never give up. They always figure out a way. They always say yes. When there's a hard job, they're the ones that raise their hands. And if you can find those kind of people, they're like gold. So once you get them, treat them like gold, and they will bring a lot of value to your organization.
And that's a key thing, because we tend to because when we look at a lot of jobs, advert, it's more about the skills, your degree, and yet, like you said, the attitude is very important, because especially in such a very volatile and uncertain world, you need people who can take initiative, who can redefine themselves, who can be creative, who can bring solutions on the table. And it's not just a degree, and that's a key thing to really take into account.
Absolutely.
So
even your resume.
have
Your resume.
another break. Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was going to say really quickly, even when you see someone that has a really impressive resume, it could mean they did a really bad job in a lot of really great companies. So don't trust the resume either. Talk to people personally to find out what their attitude is, and you'll be much more likely to be successful.
Fantastic. So on this, we're going to have a break, and we will be back for the last bit of the show. And it's been going really fast. So don't go anywhere, just a short break, and we will be back. So we are back. We are back with Dan, and it has been a very interesting conversation. And I hope you're enjoying it and you're taking notes, and we'll be ready to know a little bit more after the show and connect directly with Dan if that's the case. But before we leave the platform, just wanted to ask you, Dan. Now it looks like you've established your business and your services. And so what's next? What's the next level for you to reach? Because I know you didn't have plan in your career, but maybe now as an entrepreneur you probably have at least short-term plans, I hope. So what's next? What's coming up in the coming 6 months or the coming year? What is the what's exciting coming from your side?
Yeah. So there's a quote I read, and it said, "You spend the first 25 years of your life learning, the next 25 years doing, the next 25 teaching." And I added something. After that, it's all bonus time. So my wife and I are in our 50s now, and so I think not only running our business and making money to support ourselves, but I think this opportunity to teach and share what we've learned in our careers. When we were just at the Paul Bocuse Institute here in Lyon in France, very famous culinary institute, and they teach hotel management. And we presented to their seniors and did a workshop with them, and it's so much fun to see these young people, 18, 19 years old, 20 years old, just so excited about getting into the world. And our goal is, if we can share something with them that we wish we had known sooner when we were in our careers to help them be more successful, then we've done our job. And so we want to, I think as we get older, we realize how big the world is and how many incredible people there are. And we want to meet all of them. And so we are, we live in Colorado now. We'll end up having been there 3 months this year out of 12 months, because we're really starting to meet. And the great thing is we learn more than we teach, I think, when we go places. So every time we go to a destination, we're not only looking to talk to companies and entrepreneurs, but we go to schools and we want to talk to kids and give them ideas about what they can do in their career. We find, we have 2 boys and 1 girl. She's incredible, like, every dad will say about their daughter. And but growing up, she always had doubts. She always had self-doubt, and she had self-doubts our boys didn't have. And it's just incredible how much support young women need. And when I was at Disney, I did a lot around Women's History Month and speaking to groups, and I discovered a great quote that I carry around with me all the time: is privilege is invisible to those who have it. And I think there's a lot of people who have privilege who don't understand their behaviors. And I'm going to say, you could say it's not their fault, but I think ignorance is not an excuse. You have to realize what your behaviors, your comments, your actions give out. And so you have to be a great listener. And so we've seen that in Brazil. My wife's working on a book right now called Manage Like a Mother. And she really wants young women to realize how great leaders they are, because mothers are the best leaders ever. They do so many difficult things. They have courage. They have consistency. They love. They have tough love. They'll slap you on the butt and then give you a kiss and tell you that they love you. So we really want to help push that forward and help people understand how to connect with each other, because we have a lot of problems in the world to solve, and we need people to come together and get rid of all these differences and all these things we've made up, and get rid of that and respect each other. So that's kind of underlying, I think, a lot of what we do. And we do that by role modeling. When we get up on stage and we talk to groups, we're married, we're equals, we teach together, we live together. Somehow we haven't gotten divorced yet, which is amazing, but we work through it, working together and living together. And we want to be a role model for others.
Fantastic. And that's saying about, women, we all have this low self-esteem, issue. And, I've worked most of my most of my career with men in a male-dominated environment, and I saw, the difference. How, my male counterpart was so, confident, and sometimes, even when they didn't know, but the confidence was just propelling them forward. And I've
Right.
learned, to really, be confident and build on my strength. And I am really looking forward to read, the book of your wife, because a lot of girls really need it. There are a lot of women, and like you said, women manage, a whole household. So how can they be so, their self-esteem can be so low when they manage a whole household and a whole community?
Yep.
It shouldn't
Yep.
be the case. So
It shouldn't be.
it shouldn't be the case. So that's very important. Thank you so much for, for your time. It has been a very, informative and also inspiring conversation, because when I see, the path that, your professional path, but also your personal path, it has been something really, inspiring. And so, for people who want to connect with you or continue the conversation with you, how do they connect with you?
Yeah, we have a couple websites, cockerellconsulting.com.
Mm-hmm.
That's the main one. If you go to cockerellconsulting.com, perfect. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
our contact information there. My cell phone number is there. Uh, I don't have an assistant. We have one that helps us do things, but I answer my own phone. I get all the emails. We like to keep things simple, and
Mm-hmm.
we you can reach out that way. And like I said, we put updates on our website about where we're going to be. But we will be, like I said, we're going to be down in Australia in mid-November till
Mm-hmm.
mid-December. We're going to be heading to New Zealand for a few weeks before we head back to the U.S. But we do things virtually. We do things in person. And if you just want to call and chat about something, we're glad to talk to you.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. So, take notes. This is the website to continue the conversation with Dan, or to connect and see, what are the services that his company is offering, and see, if there's something that you want to contract with them. And also, for those who are going to watch the replay, please don't hesitate to also connect and ask questions, after the replay. Let us know where you want, some insight, or clarification, and I will connect you to Dan directly for that. So it has been a great conversation. Like I said, I'm going to be back for another episode of the Greatness Engineering Hour, for two episodes of the Greatness Engineering Hour on Friday. So one of my guests is going to be in the US. So we're going back to the US. So it's going to be Dr. Amber Ann Lyons, and we're going to talk about mental health, in young adult and youth. So it's going to be again an interesting conversation. And then we will be going to India with Dr. Supriya, and she's going to talk about how we're going to talk about how to be the best version of ourselves. And so, some great conversation that you don't want to miss. And I hope that you're going to join us. And also want to mention the launch of our next collaboration book, Unshakable Faith, coming out this Thursday. So don't so stay tuned, and we will, we hope that you'll be able to join us and get your copy, because it is a story of 15 women, from how they went from ashes to success. And I'm part of those 15 women. So if you want to know more about my story, please get your copy, and to redefine yourself, to rebuild yourself, and to renew yourself, because that's what it's all about. So that's all we have for today. And again, thank you for, to you, Dan, for taking the time, being away from home to grace, the platform of the Greatness Engineering Hour. I really appreciate. Stay tuned. Don't leave. It's just, and it's just bye-bye for everyone. And I will see you on Friday again. So take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.